Hello, Arun. We are back here at Timeout with SportsAdda. The England versus India series has just finished. Uh, Very different ending to what we had thought and what we had predicted. But there's a lot of cricket coming up, right, in the near future.
There is. Did you say the England India Test series is over? Because I still don't know what the result of the series is. So technically, it's still a question mark. But yeah, a lot of cricket to be played in the coming weeks and months.
Absolutely. We'll talk about the England series at a later stage. But like we have done in the past, in this episode, Arun, we have a guest who is going to be joining us. He's actually a huge fan of the Chennai T20 team. He's from Chennai. He's based in Chennai, and I've done a lot of work with him. Very dear friend of mine. So can we get on Ravishankar, please? Can we get on Ravi? We'll call him Ravi. Let's get on Ravi on the show and talk cricket with him.
So hello, Ravi. Good to have
Hey
you here.
everyone. Hey Akhil, thanks a lot for having me. Looking forward to this.
Hello, welcome Ravi, and thanks for your time. We've spoken a lot
Pleasure.
of the camera. We've had like numerous conversations on the business of cricket, business of sport overall. So before we get into some of the serious stuff, I've been telling Arun, and Arun is a huge Chennai fan also of the T20 League. So what is this fascination about Chennai? I've seen you stand up in office when Chennai has done well and shout about the team and how there is only one team which rocks in the T20 League. So what is this fascination for Chennai?
No, I mean it's my hometown, right? I mean, just like probably millions of other fans around the world, right? It's about which city you're from. You gain a lot of interest and passion for the city. So as you know, I'm very biased when it comes to Chennai. So I overlook all the flaws and the cons, and always talk about how everything is perfect in Chennai. And for the longest time, we didn't have a league, right, in India, a professional league where we could root for our teams. It was always the Indian cricket team, and you might have Ranji teams and so on, but you didn't have the concept like it was in the Western markets. So for me, I'd been a fan of NBA and NFL teams even today for like 20 years. But there's no real team for me to root for in India because before 2008 we didn't have a league, right? And then actually the first 2 years the league started, I wasn't in India, so I wasn't even watching any of the matches. I was working in the US and studying there. So I didn't watch any matches. I wasn't really a fan of the team until I actually moved in 2009, late 2009, and that's when and because we were at IMG together, we were working on the event as well. Then I started to say, okay, there's a team in my hometown, I have to root for it, so became sort of slowly a fan, and then obviously the on-field performance really helps, right? So when the team is doing really well, you tend to have a lot more passion, and there's a lot more bragging rights on the line, especially me being a single guy or one or two guys from Chennai in a Bombay-based office, and
It's
you got a lot of
interesting to
guys
say that.
sitting on your
It's
head
interesting.
every time IPL starts.
Sorry, it's interesting. A couple of points you made there, Ravi. One is, you spoke about the affinity for the city-based team. I don't think that's still the case with the league. I mean, here I am. I'm a Bangalore-bred boy, but I
Yeah.
still support Chennai Super Kings or the Chennai franchise. Similar. I mean, there are very few individuals I think who will support their home franchise. I think I strongly believe that cricket till today is driven by individuals. I mean, the cricket market's driven by individuals. So you look at you're either a Virat Kohli fan or a Rohit Sharma fan or a MS Dhoni fan. Very few people can connect with the team like me and you do. Or
Right.
a lot of Mumbai folks might support Mumbai, but
Yeah.
other than that, I think there's very little to connect a team with a city-based team with an individual, a fan.
Yeah, I think with an avid fan, that's probably the case because you've been following and you have some maybe you love certain players and you want to follow their career path and you root for these teams. But I think where the difference is there's a whole bunch of casual fans, right? Like cricket but haven't been exposed to a franchise-based league. They might actually latch on to and sort of affiliate themselves more to the city because they don't necessarily know the individuals as much or they haven't been following their careers, right? So I think that's where the distinction is between what category of fans, which actually to me, from a professional standpoint, it really fascinates me to understand fans. So to your point, an avid fan is probably saying, I'm going to follow that player irrespective of which city he goes to, and I'm going to adopt that team. Whereas a casual fan might say, I've been raised and brought up in Chennai. I have a team to root for. Let me learn about cricket, or let me. Most of them do, but let me become a more ardent fan. But I love my city because this is where I'm from. And to be very honest, I might even say I was a casual fan, right? So because I'm not experts like you guys, or haven't been living and breathing cricket for as you do. So I might even categorize myself as a casual fan that started rooting because they were based in Chennai, and just as I said, because of their on-field success, then you sort of gain more sort of connect to that brand and to the fans as well, the city. But it's a very unique environment. I mean, during IPL, I think you guys might have been here. It's I haven't been to other, so I can't speak for how the other teams and how they run things. But it's a very good atmosphere to be in around IPL time.
The hashtag is Yell Love. It's YELLOVE, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've been quite consistent. I mean, that's one of the really interesting things. I think I love the way their digital content is curated, and the way they appeal to not just the key core fans, right? They also appeal to wider demographic, and that's where I think having someone like Dhoni, being linchpin and sort of the guy who's bringing fans all over India. Like even when you see a heat map of IPL fans, you see CSK has fans spread all over the country and even the globe, right? Because as you said, I mean, they're all their avid fans, but they love Dhoni and everything that he stands for, and so he's been able to pull a lot of gravity towards what this team has built over the years. So the brand equity for this team is largely driven by him. But I think over time, as you said, even like the Western leagues, like they didn't build affinity towards that city right away, right? I mean, if you look at even in like 15 years of the T20 League, still not sufficient, right? Even the NBA took decades for them to build their brand. So
good point. Yeah,
I think it's but I think we are already there because it's cricket. Everyone speaks cricket, so it's a lot easier.
So Ravi, just to I wanted to come to a point where you worked closely where the T20 League was happening in India in the beginning, like the first 2-3 years. You've worked with some of the people who worked on the league also. How was the experience? Like I think you've gone to one of the games also. There used to be a lot of ribbing, I remember, because a couple of people were supporting Chennai, while the rest of the entire office was supporting Mumbai. So there was a lot of fun banter going across there. And I remember you had gone to watch the final also that had happened in Mumbai. Not a great result for the Mumbai guys. So I remember you giving it back to the guys then also. So any thoughts of going to a game, and like how was it like watching a match as a Chennai supporter in Mumbai?
2010 was the first season I actually worked a little bit on the sponsorship side, but got to really follow CSK as a team. And then I remember the 2010 final. It was in Navi Mumbai. So the company had arranged some tickets, and we were like 15 of us. We took a van, all of us together, and on the way there, I was the only single CSK supporter, and I was getting battered, like left, right, and center. Everyone wouldn't stop, and there was like an hour and a half long drive, and they were going at it, man. Like, and at certain points during the game, like and to be honest, I've only been to like 4 or 5 cricket matches live in my lifetime, and that was like the second match ever that I think I've been to. But one thing I vividly remember is, we got there quite early, so before the match started, and the stadium was already packed, right? It's IPL final, so people get in there like 60 minutes even before the start, and you see the players warming up, and you're trying to, like, we were sitting where we could sort of see the players, so we're trying to identify who they are, and all of a sudden, big roar. We're like, what happened? And then we saw Sachin walk in for a warm-up session, right? And the entire crowd was going nuts, and that sort of energy, like, I haven't felt before. I thought, wow, this is amazing, and it was unreal. Just you could feel the seats vibrating, right? You're sitting on it, and you can't help but stand and cheer.
Yeah.
And then I thought that was loud, and then surprisingly, some 10 minutes later, Dhoni walks in, and the cheers were even louder. in Mumbai, right? I mean, that was like incredible for me. So, those were the things that stick out to me from like during the match. And I know at certain points, like, it was very close. I think Mumbai was like behind the 8 ball a little bit when they were chasing, and then Pollard, went off. And I remember this field placing that Dhoni did, literally putting Matthew Hayden right
Straight
next to
long
the
on.
bowler, like where he could shake hands. He was in the circle, and I was wondering, why is he standing there? Like, move him. And you're a fan, you want to shout instructions. And I was like wondering, why is he standing there? This was a wasted effort. Like, and then 3 balls later, he hits right to him, and that was literally the sort of the name.
Five more balls of Pollard at that stage would have changed the result.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Not even, I don't even know 5, man. Like the way he was going, because he was smashing everything, and it was just, again, testament to his brilliance, right? I mean, he always thinks ahead. So the end of the ride back to Bombay was wonderful for me.
I'm sure
all the battering that I took, because I was already so tired, like I was screaming my lungs out, like, when they won. But on the way back, you should have seen it was pin drop silence. No one said a word. And they didn't want to hear from me. So every time I would turn to speak to someone, they're like, no, we'll talk tomorrow. So it was a very memorable experience.
Okay, brilliant. So I think I've had enough of Chennai in terms of how nice they are and how successful they've been. What about your experience of working or seeing, or like maybe you can tell us about your interaction with the first big cricketer that you've interacted with or seen with. Any incident that you can share with us about that?
So maybe I would say maybe 14, 15 years old. And at that point, Rahul Dravid actually came to Chennai. He was playing one of the local tournaments. I can't remember for one of the teams here. So for a local tournament in Chennai, so like one of the corporates. So he was training with Ranji beforehand, and I used to go in for my sessions, and it coincided. And I remember sort of training with him. Certain times, we would exercise together, like in a room, like doing various kind of aerobics and agilities or gym training. And I just remember the sort of aura that he had around him. Very, very simple guy, doesn't say a word. Whatever instructions are being told, he carries it. Attention to detail all the way through. So professional, but you could just feel some sort of aura around him, which I felt was and he wasn't even. I would say he was already one of the best batsmen, but I think he hadn't peaked yet. Like I was still quite early in his career, but everyone knew who he was. But he was so simple and down to earth, and so we had some stretching sessions where I had to help him out, and I was like literally so nervous. I was like, how is this gonna go? But that was one of the very, very few experiences I've had with cricketers. But something that always stuck in my mind is how he handled himself, even in training sessions, and something you can always look up to when you're trying to achieve something professionally as well as an athlete.
Do brands being associated with events or players that are actually convert into, let's say, sales, or let's say, I give you an example where I'm coming from. I had to change the tires of my car a few months ago, right? And I was insisting on an Indian brand promoted by one of the leading Indian cricketers. I ventured out to the market, right? Because I had that picture of the cricketer promoting that brand, but
Absolutely.
none of the vendors in the market, and this is not just about one, I must have tried about 30 different vendors, not one recommended that brand. So in terms of conversion, do signing in such big players, big celebrities actually convert to sales? That's my first question. I'll probably leave you to answer that.
Yeah, I think that's a great question, but you have to look at the entire sort of cycle, right, or spectrum of a brand's association or the reason, the rationale for investing in a player. And you being an avid cricket fan, the most that sponsorship can do is help you get into that awareness stage, right? But then obviously a recall and then a call to action, which is what you did. You went to the vendor.
Yeah.
That's all that the sponsorship can do. Beyond that, it's actually the product that has to deliver, right? So sponsorship is not going to help them make better tires. The business has to follow through and help you convert that sale. So it's actually the onus is on the brand to live the entire life cycle, right? So they can't just do. You can bring the best players and you can plaster them all over every hoarding and all media standpoint. They can be on top of your mind in terms of recall awareness, but that's not going to help you convert if the vendors don't recommend that, right? So it's more on their performance in terms of the business that they need to also shore up to ensure that they close the loop, right? So the fact that you wanted to and reached out to 30 vendors to get different opinions shows that the sponsorship worked. And that's all you can ask for. But the question that you asked initially is, does it convert to sales? Is I would say, $1 billion question that every brand is now trying to figure out. And those are conversations I've had with a couple of European agencies that are helping these brands, because it's very, very hard to do, right? But now you can put things in place, like in terms of marketing. It could be a QR code, or in social media, like if you want to improve your number of followers, you put a hashtag and you see the engagement. So there are ways that you can monitor in terms of whether you're launching a new product, or you're trying to get more people to follow you or your company, or convert it directly into sales. There are ways you can target and make sure for example, like they might run campaigns in the summer, and they might say, compared to 12 months before, my sales went up by 20%, but I also had the sponsorship, so I could attribute some of that to that sponsorship. Right? That's how brands are really looking at it. But I think where we can get better as an industry is to provide those metrics and see if we can do the entire funnel. But it has to be, the product has to also sell itself to a certain extent, right? So they can only get you to make that call and inquire and do that. But if the product has to be good, otherwise, you might use it once and then you might never come back, which is.
Just want to understand now, with analytics coming into sports analytics coming into this section of the market, will it help us? Will it help athletes other than cricketers as well? Are brands now looking at other sports, other games, other athletes as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think on the back of the Olympics glory that a lot of the athletes have done incredibly well. I mean, it happens, right? It's sort of cyclical. Every 4 years, one or two athletes win medals. All of a sudden, brands chase after them, and that's fine too. I mean, if that's the platform, if that's what it takes. But you're already hearing, the gold medal winner Neeraj is sort of getting endorsement offers that are higher than even the best cricketers, and that might be for a short period, but I think that's really where there's more awareness coming in around these cyclical events. But it'll continue to grow. I mean, it's still going to be, I think, more than 90% share goes to cricketers. But at least, the good thing is the pie is getting larger.
Yeah.
Right? That's an important thing. Even if they were spending, let's say, 1,000 crores a couple of years ago, today they're spending 3,000. So even if the percentage is not high, at least, a larger share of that money is actually going to the other athletes. So, that's fine. I mean, as long as the pie gets larger, I think everyone wins, and that's what. And it still works. I mean, sponsorship, just to add on to my previous point, is the fastest growing vertical within marketing globally. I don't know about India, but like in a global study, right, it grows at a higher rate than a lot of the other marketing verticals that are there. And there's a reason, because it gets people involved in an emotional way that helps you convert that into sales if your product is good.
If your product is good. I like that. I like the addition there.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Ravi. It's we can take this conversation long, but we'll do that offline. Just stay positive the way that you've always been. It's always fun talking sports, and we have lots of conversations about sponsorships and how overall the Indian business has grown. So thank you so much for your time. We love having guests over and talking about sport and sharing about your experiences. So always fun to do that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Arun. Thanks.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Definitely want to keep chatting sometime later.
Absolutely. Look forward to one more such chats in the future.